Welcome to IPMNation.com, the next generation of Internet radio, powered by Impact Player Music.
Just after 11 p.m. here on the East Coast. Welcome to another edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed here on IPMNation.com, on the IPMNation.com live channel. It is Tuesday night. It's that time again, sitting here in Manchester, New Hampshire at our studio at Essence at 832 Elm Street. If you're in the area, come on down and see us. We like when people drop in during the live show. That was Voice Inside from the band The Cranks, and we've got Haley and Connor on the phone. We're going to talk to them in a moment. We got a lot to get to tonight, actually. A little bit later, I want to talk about Casey Anthony. The verdict came down today, not guilty. I have some things to say about that. And I also want to talk a little politics later, but That was the Cranks. Great song, Voice Inside. I like that a lot. And Haley and Connor calling in. How are you guys tonight?
We're great. How are you, Matt?
Very good. Thanks for being on the show with us. We kind of do a variety of things here on Matt Connarton Unleashed, or we're trying to anyway. But one of the things we're trying to do going forward is to have a musical guest every week. And it's a relatively new show. And you guys are only the second musical guest we've had on this particular program. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to chat for a few minutes, and then we'll play another song. We're actually going to be playing a couple other things from your band tonight. So definitely very, very impressed. And where are you from?
We're from Dunstable, Massachusetts, and Groton, Massachusetts.
Okay. And you also, at least one of you spends some time up here in New Hampshire, though, correct?
Yeah, me and my sister both, me, Connor, and my sister Haley are both twins, and we live in New Hampshire during the summer.
Oh, very cool. So you guys are twins. How long have you been playing music together?
We've been playing we've been playing since we were in 5th grade, which is at least 5 years together, I think.
Yeah. How old are you guys?
We're 16, almost 17, and Greg's 15.
Oh, okay. Now, Greg is the other member of the Cranks.
Yes.
Is he related to you as well, or is he just a friend?
No, he's just a friend of ours.
Okay. No, that's cool that you guys are twins because, we have had other bands. I mean, I've interviewed bands where, maybe it's a pair of brothers in the band or whatever, or cousins, but never twins. So that's really cool. And I'm curious, I mean, this is probably something you get asked a lot, but because you're twins, do you find that you have a lot of that kind of intuition, where twins can kind of almost like a telepathy type of thing where you kind of know what each other is thinking?
Absolutely.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, we have spent so much time together our whole lives. We it also shows when we play music, just we're completely in sync with each other. We're just alike in almost every way.
Well, that's what I was curious about is how much that. I mean, I imagine that must help a lot in terms of, I assume you write together as well as play the songs together?
We do our best to write together.
Yeah. So, and how long has the Cranks existed as a band?
The Cranks have existed for, I want to say, 3 years of the 5, because we started with another player, and then when he dropped out, we kind of changed our whole look and just became our 3-piece.
Gotcha. Okay. So how long has it been the three of you as the Cranks currently exists?
3 years.
3 years.
Maybe a little more than 3 years.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, so even prior to that, there was a different version of the band?
Yeah, we had another band called 7G that was just kind of playing with friends, nothing really too serious.
Oh, okay.
3 plus another.
Wow, you guys
dropped out. We got pretty serious, and kind of.
It just took off. We started being serious about the band at that point.
That's really, really cool, though, that you started so young and that you're already so serious about it and that you're already really making progress with it from what I looked at online, and that's really cool. I'm always impressed by that because I did not have that kind of discipline and drive at that age. Hell, I don't think I had that kind of discipline and drive until I was 30. So, so that's really cool. And you have, is it a full-length album that you have out now?
Right now, it has 9 songs, which I think might be just short. I think we need 10 for it to be considered a real album. Might be an EP right now.
Yeah, I know iTunes requires, I think, 13.
Do they? Yeah. Well, everything's relative. I mean, I would call 9 an album. It's a little long for an EP, but in the digital age where you can put your songs online, and I mean, some people don't even release official albums or EPs anymore. They just put out singles. So there's kind of really not any rules anymore. You guys are coming up in the business at an interesting time where the old rules about what's an album and what's an EP and it almost doesn't even matter anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
So, which in a lot of ways can be an advantage for a young band and a new band. Although you guys aren't new, really, you've been around for a few years. But how much music have you recorded? Do you have other music that you've recorded that's not on your current release?
Yeah, we had another CD that came out 2 years ago, January, on our album What, and that had 7 songs on it. But we just called that an EP.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
We only still play one of the songs off that album. The other ones were just, the first song we've ever written, the second song we've ever written. The song Long Day, though, we continue to play that.
Yeah. And do you have other songs, too, that you play live that you haven't recorded yet?
We have a few that we're working on. We're still finishing lyrics, writing, planning out just how the song sounds. So they're like in working and
progress.
In progress.
Yeah. And tell me about your influences a little bit, because and it's funny, I was talking to Chris, your manager, about this on the phone earlier. I hear a couple different things. A lot of the bass work reminds me immediately of Sublime, which I'm sure you guys hear a lot. But I hear some other things too, like with Voice Inside, I almost hear some like early 80s punk or maybe some surf punk or something. I don't know. It's a little hard to pin down, which I think is cool, because you're not doing something that sounds like exactly like somebody else, which is unusual. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, me and Connor listen to a lot of the same music, but Greg he even listens to the same music as us too. I guess our main influences would be Kings of Leon, Weezer, Guster, Red Hot Chili Peppers. We're actually getting into Sublime right now too.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. I can hear all of that in your music, absolutely. Do you all write together, or how does the songwriting process work?
Well, usually either Haley comes up with some kind of start to a song, and we'll all have a practice and jam on it together, and then we'll each create I think this would sound cool for a bridge. I think we should do this during the verse.
Yeah.
Maybe we can sort of collaborate like that.
That's how we wrote Voice Inside. I wrote the first verse idea, then Connor and Greg just added on to it.
Yeah, and the song Mexico on our CD, that was a huge collaboration. That entire song was collaborated by our whole band, and then Haley wrote the words for it, but all the musicianship, everything, we all sort of developed at a few different practices, and we all did it together.
Mexico, we locked ourselves in the basement for a couple hours with some soda, and we're just going crazy writing this song.
Do the tunes come together fairly quickly? I mean, I don't know if it's just part of how you recorded them, but they have a certain, I don't know, there's a certain spontaneity to the sound. Do they come quick?
It depends on what kind of mood we are when we're writing these songs. Some of them will take months. I know Seven, we had our first initial lead to Seven. We had that little hook in our heads forever, but we could not figure out what to do with the lyrics and the melody, so it ended up dragging on.
Yeah.
Other songs just click. We're writing it, and we decided, let's put a stop here, let's put a chorus here, and it just falls into place. That's the best. This is the best feeling when that happens.
Yeah, like something like Pirate. Haley had this little guitar riff that she made up, and she showed it to our band one day, and then Greg created his initial bass line lead and then I created my drum beat, and me and him would always, in the middle of practice, just start jamming to that.
Sure.
And then I ended up throwing away what Haley had on guitar and completely rewrote it and started off new with what me and Greg created.
Yeah. And what about playing live? Do you guys do a lot of shows? I mean, being so young, I know there's a lot of places you probably can't play.
Oh, yeah.
No, we get around, though. We play lots of festivals, lots of open mics, Battle of the Bands,
sure.
And also just small inside venue rock shows.
Yeah. Festivals are great. I mean, if you're in a position where you're able to do a lot of festivals, that's fantastic, because you're at a festival. I mean, that's your really best opportunity, I think, to get exposed to a large audience.
Mhm. Oh yeah, because there's tons of just different kinds of people there.
Right.
If you get the attention of somebody at a carnival, you know that you've really, you've probably just gained a really solid fan if you can get somebody's attention to stand in front of you and watch you at a festival.
Absolutely. And Haley, Chris, your manager, was saying that you also do some solo shows, just acoustic. Is that true?
Yes, actually, I just did one tonight, and it's the funniest thing. I was called last minute to fill in for somebody at the Wilkboro Inn tonight, so I went in with my acoustic set, and Jimmy Fallon was having dinner.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so I met him, and I had to give him a CD, so.
What's he like? Everyone says he's a really nice guy.
He's so nice.
He was great.
A normal person.
Yeah.
He's really funny, too. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you know why he was in the area? Is he just on vacation, or is he from here, or do you, any idea?
He comes to eat at the Wolfboro Inn every year.
Oh, no kidding.
We just caught that day.
Oh, wow. Well, that's lucky.
One 365 chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, huh? That's really, really cool. How often do you do solo acoustic shows?
A lot in the summer. I try to make that my summer job. That way I don't have to, wash dishes or anything like that. I get to just work playing guitar.
Yeah, I'm washing dishes.
Well, Connor, somebody's got to wash the dishes,
Yeah, somebody.
No, that's
I
really...
try to do every week, every 2 weeks, wherever I can find around my area.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. No, I'm impressed that, like I said, that you're both of you, the whole band, that you're so serious at such a young age, and I think that's great. And I was poking around online, and like I said, it looks like you're already getting somewhere with this, which is really cool. And speaking of getting somewhere with it, is that the long-term plan? Do you both plan to make music a career? I mean, I know you're young; you can change your mind 1,000 times. But how are you feeling right now, today? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm sure we would all absolutely love to do music with our life. It's just, it is extremely difficult to get into, to be able to play music at a level where you can make enough money to live off of.
Sure.
Make a living from playing music. And we all definitely have, me and Greg, I know, have some other passions. Haley, obviously, is music all the way. No, music is number one for her. And, of course, but me and Greg also, we love music, and if the opportunity came along, we would absolutely choose music for our career.
We're going to definitely try as hard as we can in high school, see where we can get, and see what opportunities arise by the time we graduate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got some great tunes. Where do you record, by the way? I really like the production.
Highwire. Our dad's studio in our basement.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Highwire
convenient.
Interactive.
He's got some fancy name for it. I don't remember.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, that's where we do our recording. We have software down there.
So does he also sort of act as your producer then?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Very cool. That's good. That's really good. Now, does he produce anyone else, or is he just focused on your band?
We have a friends band called Redfish Bluefish. He helps produce us too.
Oh, very nice. Good. Well, what do you have coming up? While we have you on the show, we have listeners all over the country, but do you have anything coming up for our biggest listener base is in the Northeast? So do you have any big shows coming up or festivals that you want to mention while we have you on the line?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Let's see. We're playing in Kingston, New Hampshire on August 5th at the Kingston Days Festival. We're playing a tornado benefit, just a tornado benefit in Pepperell on July 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Something called Celebrate Burlington in Massachusetts. It's August 6th. And Campified on July 20th, which is a camp in Long Island that we'll be playing at. But all these shows will be posted on our Facebook page and on our website, too.
Excellent. And what's the best way to find you online for people who want to check up and follow what you're doing?
www.thecranks.com, or finding us on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. We have everything on our Facebook page.
Very good. And yeah, I was on your website today. Very cool site. I definitely dig it. So a lot of good stuff on there. And, and you can get the music there, obviously. And you've got the little media player that pops up right when you hit the site, so you can sample all the tunes. And that's what I did. I went through and, when I was picking out which ones do I want to play tonight on the show, I did get a CD from Chris in the mail, but when I was kind of deciding, sometimes I make these decisions at the last minute. I was like, geez, what do I want to play tonight? And that's how I picked. I just scrolled through the tunes on the site, so that was very convenient.
That works.
Absolutely. Well, Haley and Connor from the Cranks, thank you both very much for being here with us tonight. I'm going to play another track of yours. What's the name of the disc, by the way? I don't think I asked you that.
It's called Downside Up.
Downside Up, okay. So I'm going to play another track from that. This is called 7, and then after that, everybody please stick around. I got some other things to talk about, as I mentioned at the top of the show. after this track. And then we are going to play one more track from the Cranks at the end of the show tonight. And Haley and Connor, I'll let you guys go for now, but we'll definitely talk to you again soon. And thanks a lot for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good night, you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so that's Haley and Connor from the Cranks calling in, and we're going to play this track 7, and when we come back, we got some other things to talk about. Like I said, Casey Anthony, the verdict came down today, not guilty. I have something to say about that, and I have a perspective on that you might not have heard elsewhere, coming from someone who came to the party late. I didn't really start following the trial until the very end, so I kind of got a lot of information shoved into my brain at once, but I have some thoughts. But in the meantime, enjoy this. This is 7 from the Cranks here on Matt Connarton Unleashed here on IPMNation.com.
looking for the break in the fence, the hole in the wall, the blink of a single eye. I've been looking for the way to escape the spiral of my mind. Oh, 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 oh. I've been waiting for 7, and I'm running out of time.
Hey, sorry everybody, I left the mic open during that song. So I don't know if any of my conversation interfered with the music. If it did, I apologize. That will be fixed when the podcast goes up tonight after the show. So if I did ruin the song, I apologize, but like I said, I will fix it. So, and I do want to remind everybody that the podcast will be available of tonight's episode of Matt Connarton Unleashed shortly after we go off the air. Should be up and available by 1 a.m. at the very latest, 1 a.m. Eastern Time, within an hour of wrapping up the show tonight. Probably sooner, but I like to under-promise and over-deliver. So it could be up before 1 a.m. It could be up a lot sooner than 1 a.m. But I'm not going to say how much sooner. I don't want to, I don't want to say it and then have it not happen. So if you'd like to call tonight, give us a call here in the studio if you got something to say. 603-518-5440 is the number, and it is on your screen if you're listening to us on IPMNation.com. And there's really nowhere else you'd be listening to us, so I'm guessing that's where you're listening to us. IPMNation.com, our live channel. 603-518-5440 is the number to call in, and I did just open the chat room. And so if anyone wants to talk about anything, discuss anything, you can also send us a text at 603-344-6491. That's 603-344-6491. A lot of angry people out there today, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of upset people. Saw a lot of anger on Facebook earlier. The verdict came down today in the Casey Anthony case. For anyone who's not entirely sure who that is, I'll just remind you, Casey Anthony is the woman in Orlando, Florida, 25 years old. She is accused of, or now acquitted of, murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, breaking her neck, suffocating her, whatever, putting her in a garbage bag, tossing her in the woods. Really hideous. I had actually wanted to discuss this on the show tonight prior to hearing the verdict. I didn't know if the verdict was going to come back today or not, and I did not expect a not guilty verdict, that's for sure. I was absolutely convinced that Casey Anthony was going to be convicted of this hideous crime. You know, I want to kind of give a little disclaimer here. I came to the party late on this. I did not follow the Casey Anthony trial very closely from the beginning. I sort of, I'm not one of those people who really gets into this stuff, way back, God, I don't, what year was it? It was sometime in the 90s when OJ was on trial. I remember the entire country was obsessed with the OJ trial and just completely transfixed by it. And I wasn't, but I was aware of it, of course. You can't exist without being aware of some of this stuff. But, I don't watch court TV or anything like that. So anyway, the Casey Anthony thing has been going on for a long time. And I was aware of it. I was aware of what she was accused of. I knew enough information to know that, to me, it sounded like she was guilty. And I would pick up bits and pieces of information along the way. But I wasn't following it closely, Typically when I watch the news, I'm looking for politics. As anyone who listens to this show knows, that's what I love to absorb and then regurgitate with my own spin and opinions. But it was impossible not to notice the Casey Anthony trial. Over the last several days, I actually kind of got hooked into it, finally, probably because getting down to the wire, getting to the point where the prosecutor and the defense attorneys were giving their closing arguments and wrapping things up, I kind of took an interest in it, a deeper interest in it. I mean, I always was interested in it on some level and always had an opinion. She looked pretty damn guilty to me. But, and I do believe in innocent until proven guilty, and we have a tendency in this country to convict people in the media before they're ever convicted at a trial. And I've been known to lecture about that and how I don't like that. But I have to admit, on the other hand, in my own mind, I had already convicted her. I firmly believed her to be guilty. Now, over the last few days, I started to really pay closer attention. And the reason I'm explaining to you why I didn't follow it from the beginning, or more specifically, the reason I'm kind of offering that disclaimer is I'm going to bring something up about the trial that really stood out to me and actually really upset me. But when I say this, you know, some of you might be thinking, well, Matt, that was kind of early on. Why are you mentioning this now? You know, why aren't you focused on the verdict? Why aren't you focused on what happens next to Casey Anthony? But the truth is, something happened in the trial that I didn't know about until the last couple of days. And when I learned about this, I had a reaction that is unlike how most people seem to be reacting. So let's put aside for a moment the verdict. Now, the verdict, I'm having a reaction just like everybody else. I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe they found her not guilty. She's obviously guilty. I do understand, without justifying it, I do understand why they found her not guilty. I understand that maybe the prosecution did not put on a strong enough case that eliminates reasonable doubt. There is room for doubt based on the evidence that I saw just in kind of these summaries, you know, that I've seen on television. Last night I was watching Fox News. Jeanine Pirro, Judge Jeanine, was on. I just learned about her the other day. My dad loves her. He thinks that she's just amazing. Yeah, she does seem to do a pretty good job. And of course, you know, when channels like Fox and CNN and all these news outlets, when they cover these trials at the end of the day, late at night, you know, they usually have a panel of people. It's usually like, they'll have 4 attorneys, maybe 2 of them are former prosecutors, and 2 of them are defense attorneys, and, you know, Janine or whoever the anchor is, Nancy Grace, if you're watching CNN, can't stand that woman. She is really obnoxious. But, you know, whoever, you know, you have your anchor and then you have the panelists, basically, and it's usually 4 people. So, anyway, everyone's reaction is anger. Everyone knows she did it. And even if she didn't do it, she's a sociopath either way, because she didn't seem to care what happened to her daughter. Even if we believe that she didn't really do this, she certainly displayed the attitude of someone who couldn't have cared less. And she made up all these lies and... Would you mind? Would you? Thank you. I've requested a beverage because I'm getting worked up and I'm starting to cough. So, in watching the coverage, because what they're doing now, whatever, anything, yeah. In watching the coverage, as they kind of recap and wrap up everything, they give you a... oh, thank you very much. You make a good waitress. They give you, you know, as they take you through the whole thing, as they take you through the whole history of the thing, and all the twists and turns of the trial. Excuse me. I'm not going to have a coughing fit, I promise. I just have to calm down a little bit because I get worked up and I get, you know, it gets in my throat. As they give you the recap of everything that happened, I'm watching this, and, you know, I kind of already knew about the George Anthony thing, Casey Anthony's father, and how supposedly there was a suicide note they found at one point because he was going to kill himself because he was so anguished over everything, and the prosecution tried to make it look like he was molesting Casey and had been molesting Casey her entire life, and this whole twisted thing they couldn't prove. A lot of people felt very sad and very sorry for George Anthony, Casey Anthony's father. But here's what stood out to me. Cindy Anthony, Casey Anthony's mother. I didn't know this until last night, that she had blatantly perjured herself on the witness stand during the trial. Because one of the things that came up during the trial, and if I'm covering ground that you already know, because I'm sure a lot of you listening to this have already been following the trial closely enough that you already know this. So, but for those of you who don't, I'll try to move through this quick, but I have a point that I need to make about this because I seem to have a minority opinion on something. Cindy Anthony, Casey Anthony's mother, the grandmother of Kaylee Anthony, who was murdered. Okay, it came up during the trial that apparently Casey Anthony, prior to her daughter's disappearance, had been looking some things up online, like how to break a person's neck, for example, and information about chloroform. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, and I don't know much about chloroform, but I know that you can make someone unconscious with it. Why would Casey Anthony be looking up things like that? Well, Casey Anthony's mother, Cindy Anthony, on the witness stand, she had a story to tell about that. She had an excuse for her daughter. And the excuse was this. She said, the mother, that she herself had looked up chloroform because she was trying to look up chlorophyll. She was looking for information on chlorophyll because she has this whole elaborate story about how one of her dogs had been feeling sick and acting kind of lethargic and didn't have much energy. And Cindy Anthony had heard or read somewhere that sometimes if a dog gets chlorophyll into its system, it will have a negative effect on its health. So Cindy Anthony was going online looking up information about chlorophyll because she began to suspect that her sick dog had been getting into the bamboo trees and munching on them, and therefore getting chlorophyll from the leaves into his system. So she's looking up chlorophyll online. And in the course of looking up chlorophyll and doing Google searches for chlorophyll, she also came up with some search results for chloroform. And I don't know, she got confused and clicked a link that said chloroform. So according to her, Casey Anthony wasn't looking up chloroform. Cindy Anthony was looking up chloroform by accident. She was trying to look up chlorophyll. The prosecution checked and said, well, first of all, a couple things they came back with. Cindy Anthony was at work during the times that chloroform was looked up on the computer at home. Cindy Anthony said, well, I have access to a computer at work. The only problem with that is these searches were done from the computer at home, not from her computer at work. The other problem is there were no searches done for chlorophyll at all, only for chloroform. There's a lesson to be learned from this, by the way. If you're thinking about killing somebody, be careful about what you go Googling on your computer. You know, don't sit at a computer and Google how to kill somebody or anything like that. Anything you do in this day and age, anything that you do online, you leave an electronic footprint. Casey Anthony, I guess, didn't know that. And apparently her mother didn't know that either, because she thought she was going to get away with this. So the prosecution proved that Cindy Anthony lied. Now, here's the point that I'm getting to about this. So I'm watching Fox News last night, and I hate Fox News, but MSNBC, because it was a weekend, they were running their prison documentaries instead of their usual political programming that I like to watch. And I don't know what CNN was doing. I don't remember. But so I'm watching Fox. Plus, I was curious because I saw Judge Janine Pirro on there, and my dad thinks that she does an amazing job. So I think he's attracted to her, but whatever. So I was curious. And so I'm watching, and they're talking about how Cindy Anthony lied on the witness stand and perjured herself. And they were talking about how there probably won't be any follow-up on that. Cindy Anthony will probably not face any kind of perjury charges, even though they proved that she perjured herself during the trial. But they probably won't pursue it. The prosecution probably won't pursue it because the general consensus among everyone is, everyone feels badly for her. She broke down crying several times throughout the trial. She's obviously very upset. She's very anguished. I mean, think about what this woman's going through. Her granddaughter was murdered. Her daughter's on trial for the murder, could get the death penalty. So this woman, Cindy Anthony, she's doing what she feels she has to do to prevent her own daughter from getting the death penalty. So the consensus was the prosecution won't prosecute Cindy Anthony for perjuring herself. And the whole panel on Fox, they all seem to kind of agree that, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, yes, she perjured herself, and yes, that's wrong, but this woman's been through enough. We don't want her to suffer anymore. So, it's probably just as well. Just leave it alone. Now, this may surprise some people, what I'm about to say. But here's my 2 cents on this. Now, I think I'm a pretty compassionate person. And, anyone who's been listening to this show who kind of knows a little bit about my politics, I prefer to err on the side of compassion. When I discuss illegal immigration, I talk about how we have to treat these people like people and we have to have compassion. I oppose the death penalty because I don't want to be executing people. We have to have, if we lose our compassion, we lose our humanity. So in a lot of instances, in a lot of situations, my vote is for compassion. But as I was watching this last night and understanding what Cindy Anthony had done and absorbing it, and listening to everyone kind of make these excuses for her, and listen, I get it. This woman, I mean, of course she's beyond devastated. The mental anguish this woman must be feeling, it must be incredible. It must be overwhelming. And I'm sure it would drive anyone to do irrational and desperate things. But I disagree that she should be let off the hook for this and that she should not be prosecuted for perjury. Because I don't want to sound cold here, but I do not think there is an excuse for what she did. Think about it this way. Is this really the message that our criminal justice system in this country should be sending? That it's okay to swear on a Bible in a courtroom and under oath actually perjure yourself in front of a judge and a jury and actually lie under oath? It's okay to do that if it's to protect a family member? Is that the message we want to send? And you can tell me all you want, well, this is an extenuating circumstance. She's anguished over her daughter's on trial and could be executed and her granddaughter's dead and this and that. And I get it. But here's the problem. What if Cindy Anthony's testimony, which completely backfired on her and backfired on the defense, or at least it seemed to at the time, ultimately it didn't matter because Casey Anthony was found not guilty. But here's the thing. What if Casey Anthony were found not guilty specifically because, or at least if it were a contributing factor that her mother perjured herself? What if Casey Anthony was found not guilty specifically because of the lies that her mother told on the witness stand? Think about it that way. And now talk to me about compassion. What if there was no justice for Kaylee Anthony, this 2-year-old girl who's dead because of her own family? And, guilty or not, her own family is responsible for Kaylee's death. Even if Casey Anthony herself did not murder that child, somehow even if it was through just sheer negligence, unintentional negligence, somehow her family is responsible for her death. Where is the justice in what Cindy Anthony did? That selfish choice that she made. Where is the justice for Kaylee in that? I want Cindy Anthony to be tried for perjury. And I want her convicted. I understand. No, I don't understand, okay? I have never gone through anything even remotely close to what she's going through, and I hope I never do. But I cannot abide the excuses that are being made for her. You cannot commit perjury in a court of law. You can't do that. And there are reasons why you can't do that. And you certainly can't do it. You know, it's bad enough. I mean, people kind of laughed about it when President Clinton was, when he lied under oath about, the thing with Monica Lewinsky. And, oh, well, he lied about sex. It's no big deal. Ha, ha, ha. And I don't think he should have been impeached. And I don't think that whole thing should have gone as far as it did. But that doesn't make it okay to perjure yourself. And I don't like what he did. But this is beyond, we're talking about a capital murder case. Do we want to send the message that it's okay to perjure yourself in a capital murder case as long as it's to protect a family member? So, my compassion for Cindy Anthony, it's a little thin. I think that she should be tried for perjury. Now, as far as Casey Anthony goes, hopefully she still goes to prison. Obviously, she has been acquitted of murder, but she was convicted on, I believe, 4 counts of giving false statements to the police. All of which just make it that much more obvious that she is guilty. I mean, making up the story about the nanny and this and that and all this bullshit. I mean, come on, we know she's guilty. Now, I'm not going to fault the jury too severely because I get it. There is room for doubt as far as the evidence. All the evidence appears to be circumstantial. It's obvious she's guilty, but I can actually see how they would find her not guilty. Because you have to be sure beyond reasonable doubt in a capital murder case. I get it. It sucks, but I get it. So I'm not angry at them. I'm not angry at the prosecutors for not getting it done. Obviously, I'm angry, though. I think the whole world is angry at Casey Anthony. But I have some anger for Cindy Anthony, too. And that's the point that I wanted to make, because somebody had to say it. And part of the reason I started this show is I want to say things that I don't hear anyone else saying that I think need to be said. And I haven't heard anyone saying that. And I'm going to leave it alone for now. But I do want to talk a little bit, very briefly, on, and I hadn't planned on mentioning this tonight necessarily, but because I was just talking about a capital murder case, it does kind of lead into it. Very soon, possibly even next week, if we can get it done, we're going to have a guest on the show, attorney Larry Vogelman, who's an attorney right here in Manchester, New Hampshire, from where we do the show. He's a member of an organization called the New Hampshire Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty. For anyone who doesn't know from listening to the show, I abhor the death penalty. I think it's evil. I think it needs to be abolished. I despise it. And I'm going to have this gentleman on to talk about. I've actually been in touch with a woman named Catherine Cooper, who is part of an organization, or she may even be the head of the organization that I just mentioned. And they also have a great website, nodeathpenaltynh.org. My dad is actually a member, Martin Connarton. He's a member of that organization. And when I communicated back and forth with Catherine via email about having someone come on to the show to talk about the death penalty, because it's something that I'm very passionate about, she asked me, and her question surprised me at first. She asked me what aspect of the death penalty I wanted to focus on, or what thread of it, because there's so many different things about it. You know, there's innocence issues, you know, when innocent people are sentenced to death and we find out later they weren't guilty. You know, there's, you know, the arguments over whether or not it really is a deterrent to murder. The effect on the victims' families. There's all these different things that she mentioned, and I emailed her back and I said, you know, to be honest with you, I hadn't thought that part through as far as the different aspects of it, but I said, what I would like to focus on is innocence issues, because that's always been my problem with the death penalty, is that it's not a perfect system, and we know for a fact that there have been thousands of people in this country executed for murder who we later found out after the fact, oops, either because of recanted testimony or some new evidence that surfaces or whatever, we find out, that's too bad, we executed the wrong person. So that's why I despise the death penalty, and I think it's evil, because it can't be undone. And it is not a perfect system. It never will be a perfect system. To be completely honest with you, some of the other arguments against the death penalty I don't necessarily agree with. Some of what I call the old line liberal arguments about how, well, the state doesn't have the right to to take a life, or you know, some of the more philosophical, esoteric arguments, I don't necessarily go along with those. I mean, I think actually if it were a perfect system, I do think the punishment should fit the crime. If the system were perfect, I might be okay with the death penalty. I might not be. I'm not sure. But the system isn't perfect, and it never will be, which means that innocent people are put to death, which means that if you support the death penalty, you support executing innocent people, because it's cause and effect. Innocent people are executed, and it needs to end once and for all. So that was, I told Catherine, I said, that's what I'd like to focus on. And so she emailed me back and said, well, I have the perfect person for you, Larry Vogelman, who's an attorney and a member of the organization. He wants to come onto the show. So I'm going to try to, hopefully I'll have him here in the studio, because he's right in Manchester. So I'm going to try to arrange him to have him on next week. One other thing I do want to talk about before we wrap up for tonight, because I posted something about it on Facebook earlier. Mitt Romney, who is, of course, the former governor of Massachusetts, who is running for the Republican nomination for the presidency. My liberal friends get kind of annoyed with me, but I have, at times, had some positive things to say about Mitt Romney. There are some things I like about Mitt Romney, and I don't necessarily think he'd make a terrible president. It depends on which version of Mitt Romney would be president. I'd like the moderate version that ran Massachusetts, not the conservative version who's trying to win the Republican nomination. Because, as I discussed, I think last week, when you're trying to win the nomination of your party, you have to go to the edge. You can't be in the middle. And I want somebody in the middle. I don't want a liberal and I don't want a conservative. I want a centrist, whether it be a Republican or a Democrat. A Bill Clinton-style Democrat would be perfect, because you can try to paint him as a liberal all you want, but he governed from the center, and that's why a lot of Republicans even acknowledge that he was a highly effective president. But, so I have positive things and negative things to say about Mitt Romney. But lately, I'm feeling pretty negative about the guy, and here's why. And I posted something on Facebook the other day, and I did get some interesting response to it, but we're almost at the end of the show, so I'm going to try to move through this quick. Basically, what I said was, I'm going to try to get this verbatim. I don't have it in front of me. I believe I said, Mitt Romney, for a Republican, I find you almost tolerable, but please stop lying about the economy and then lying about your lying. Because at every campaign stop, he's giving these speeches where he talks about how the economy was in recession when Obama became president, and then Obama made it worse. The economy's actually gotten worse. Now, I'm not here to defend Obama or the job that he's done. And I know the economy still sucks. But what Mitt Romney has been saying is a flat-out, bald-faced lie. It's not spin. It's not him trying to bend the truth a little bit to appeal to voters, which all politicians do. No, Mitt Romney is a liar. That is an absolute lie. He keeps saying it, and then when confronted with it, he denies that he said it. The economy has gotten better. It hasn't gotten better fast enough, but we are in recovery. It's a jobless recovery. Unemployment is still very high, much too high. We're still at 9.1. The economy is growing at an anemic rate. And that sucks. I don't dispute any of that. But what Mitt Romney said about how the economy was in recession when Obama took office and that Obama made it worse and prolonged the recession, that is a lie. We are in recovery. It's a weak recovery, but we are in recovery. A recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, of a shrinking economy, and the economy is growing. And it has been for several quarters now. Mitt Romney is a liar. I'm going to play you some audio right now. This is from the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC. I want to play this for you because she offers some examples. There's some audio in here that I want you to hear in case you don't believe me. This is verbatim what Mitt Romney said. You can hear it right from the man himself. Here it is.
Debunction junction, what's my function? First question, true or false?
You continue to say that the economy is worse, but unemployment is lower than it was in 2009. The stock market was tumbling. It is now above 12,000, and it is growing slowly. We just had a 12%, or excuse me, a 2% gain this last quarter. So how can you continue to say that things are worse when they really aren't worse?
I didn't say that things are worse. What I said was that the economy hasn't turned around.
I didn't say the economy's worse under President Obama. Not me, never said that. Is that true or false? Mr. Romney, please meet the video record. Video record, please meet Mr. Romney.
He did not cause this recession, but he made it worse.
He didn't create the recession, but he made it worse and longer.
When he took office, the economy was in recession, and he made it worse.
So just to be clear here, just to be clear.
He made it worse.
He made it worse.
He made it worse.
I didn't say that things are worse.
Yes, you did, Mitt Romney. Yes, you did. Not telling the truth about what you said. Also, not telling the truth on the substance of the matter. The economy under President Obama has gotten better, factually speaking. So Mitt Romney, false. And also Mitt Romney, false about being false.
By the way, if you're wondering about the train noise in the beginning of the audio, that's a thing that Rachel Maddow does on her show on MSNBC. It's a segment called Debunction Junction, hence the train, where she debunks someone's lies. Look, I'm not trying to make this a partisan thing. Democrats lie too. All politicians lie, or at least bend the truth, or spin things wildly out of control to suit their own purposes. But anyone who tells you that Obama has made the economy worse is lying, because in order for Obama to have made the economy worse, the economy would have to actually be worse. So, Mitt Romney, you are a liar, and the respect that I had for you is gone. Not that you care. I wasn't going to vote for you anyway, probably. So, whatever. But, so I guess if this keeps up, we might get stuck with Michelle Bachmann as the Republican nominee. Oh, boy. Anyway, that's going to do it for tonight on Matt Connarton Unleashed. Don't go away yet. I'm going to play one more track from the Cranks. Again, thanks to Haley and Connor, the twins, for calling in tonight. And really enjoyed talking to them. Thecranks.com is the website. They got a lot of cool stuff going on, so be sure to check that out. And if you're listening live and you want to come back and relive all the glory of the last hour, you can do that anytime you want. Well, you can do that about 30 minutes from now, probably, because the podcast of tonight's show will be up. You can stream it. You can download it at your leisure. You can keep it forever and ever. I know that I will. I hope you treasure it as much as I do. And tomorrow, be sure to come back to the IPMNation.com live channel. 8 a.m. weekday mornings is Democracy Now! Live. You can watch that, and then after it's live, it streams all day. Norm and Friends from 4 to 6 p.m. We're going to be talking a little bit of politics, or somewhat of a political issue on Norm and Friends tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be talking about how the state has pulled some of the funding for Planned Parenthood, the state of New Hampshire. I don't know if that's a federal thing that's happened or if it's just in New Hampshire, but of course, as we have listeners all over the country, but we do the show in New Hampshire, and we tend to talk some local issues on that show. And then after Norm and Friends, a genuinely political show, The Marr Report, formerly The Marr Regime, the new number 3 show on IPMNation.com. That is from 6 to 7 p.m. live, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live on IPMNation.com. And that is a very political show, always. So lots of cool stuff. And we also have some audio as we find things throughout the week that are politically oriented that we want to post. We do put them on the politics page here on IPMNation.com. So some interesting audio that you can stream anytime. And sometimes that stuff might give you kind of a preview of what I might be talking about on Matt Connarton Unleashed. So hopefully we'll have Larry Vogelman on with us next week. I know that Paul from Retrospectrum Radio wants to come on sometime and discuss the death penalty with me. He's apparently pro-death penalty, so I look forward to arguing with him. That should be a lot of fun. Also, we have a new show premiering, not live, but a podcast only, Grapevine, with Melissa Say. Look for that this weekend on IPMNation.com. And one other thing, if you're in the Manchester, New Hampshire area, this coming Sunday night, the 10th, at Club 313 here in Manchester, New Hampshire, General Money, host of General Money's Chopped and Screwed here on IPMNation.com, will be performing live, and I will be with him. I'll be playing bass, and that's going to be a great time. Lots of IPMNation.com personalities will be there, so come on down to Club 313 in Manchester, New Hampshire, Sunday night, the 10th. I think that's everything. I'm just about out of breath. I'm going to play this track. This is a great song. I wanted to end the show tonight with this song because it's called Mexico, and we do talk about illegal immigration from time to time here on Matt Connarton Unleashed. So I thought this would be a great way to end the show. Check it out. This is a great track from the Cranks, Mexico, here on Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we'll see y'all soon.
So well, all those movies rang the bell, so polite we waited for the hostess came to lunch for 3 days up. How could it be? Whoa, whoa. That just got us time to think, hiding from the teens in pink, serpentine to a table, need a plan, might be able, nice and guns and bunker buster. Gypsies, I don't like mustard. Gas is pretty handy too. Out the door and the blue maps, laid plans of my set, man in the end, paper seal before we left. Amen. Wrote it up, pen and paper. Best laid plans of mice and men in the end, paper seal before we left. Amen. Wrote it up, pen and paper, napkin left behind. Down the road and through the gate into the room where they keep the safe. Gunner had the bag in hand, shaking like a nervous man. Train's wheels stopped, the hunt stayed too. All aboard came men in blue, flashlight beams and dogs were barking. All's quiet, no one's talking. Why aren't we in Tijuana? After jail, I don't wanna. Best laid plans of mice and men in the end, paper sealed before we left. Amen. Wrote it up, pen and paper, days are slow and long, and we can't get along. So my mind is settled